Welcome, everybody, to BFD Advisors and our podcast, the podcast that touches on business and accounting nerd stuff and just whatever craziness strikes us on a given day. So it's really kind of random, and no, we actually have structure. So today, we're going to talk a lot about screwing up. And I am telling you what, you just talk to my wife, I'm really, really good at screwing up. Apparently, when you make mistakes, that makes you wiser. So somehow I must be like, I don't know, a Sherpa or something where I'm the wisest person in the world. We all know career, life, business, we are going to screw up. And so what we want to talk about is each one of our biggest screw ups. What did we learn from it? And kind of what lessons and things we can help you guys with. So I want to start with just, it's okay to screw up. It's totally okay to screw up. You will come out of it.
If you don't screw up, you probably are screwing up and you just don't realize you're screwing up. So if you're like, I don't make mistakes.
Yeah, I refuse to make a mistake. You know what you have? You just didn't refuse to acknowledge that you made the mistake.
There you go.
So Sharrin, kick us off. Tell me what your biggest mistake was. And we can kind of get into what did you learn from it and things like that.
All right. So we all know in my previous episodes, I'm Captain Save-A-Ho. We all know this. So my biggest mistake and that I have learned when it comes to business and kind of life in general is I'm too trusting. I get somebody in and I want to give them everything and do everything. And I see so much potential. And so I don't cover my assets, cover myself. And in the long run, somebody has always ended up screwing me. I usually just laugh it off or karma, whatever. And I even have karma tattooed on my wrist, just so you know. I always say karma's going to get you. I'm not going to be that person. I'm going to say something else here in a second too, but it's always comes back to bite me. And a couple times very hard. And a couple times it's not even the monetary, it's more of the emotional, devastating, how it feels, because I know you read Twitter, you read everything and everyone's like, screw my employers, they don't care, they'll drop me in a heartbeat. But not everyone's like that, right? Some people care, especially when you have smaller teams. Yeah. But it's hard when you get to the point where you realize someone is like screwing you over and you have to let go of them. And you have to just put up 1 minute you were on a cruise with them, hanging out with your team and your best buds, and we're going to take down the world with this company. And the next minute you're like, I'm going to have to fire you. Glass wall. I'm no longer a friend. I'm no longer anything. I can't tell you why I'm letting you go. I have, and then you realize, oh crap.
Oh, so give us an example. I want their name, their address, their social security number. I got my pen ready. Who is it you have to go after?
Legally cannot disclose anything.
Can I just say one thing?
Scenario? Tell me a story.
Well, yeah. Hold on a hot second. We have not addressed the elephant in the room.
What?
Sharrin is wearing whatever that is on her head is to protect her from flipping her hair.
Because by the time this posts, it's going to be Christmas.
I understand that, but I think it's doing a really good job of preventing you from flipping your hair. Because you kind of just been petting it. You're petting it right now. You're not
petting it. Oh my God, I don't even realize.
But petting is fine. So I knew the audience is like, what in the heck is going on?
I just know that by the time we recorded this, Christmas was going to be up. So I had, it's July right now, but I have to put on Christmas stuff. So, this should hit about the mid-December and it'll make sense. If this hits in July, Charlotte's fired. That's it.
No, it's an elephant, man. And I wanted to just.
It's an elephant.
Elephant, yeah.
I was also thinking the other day.
I didn't even notice. I just thought that was your regular ears. I thought it was one of those accessories.
I was also thinking the other day, the way we refer to Charlotte and she's not on screen reminds me of Gilman, and remember Live with Regis and Kathy Lee? Be like, Gilman. Wasn't that his name?
I don't remember.
I'm not that old.
Recall.
Is Regis
I plead the fifth.
Sorry. Derailed.
Okay, so tell us names and stories. I want to hear stories. I want to hear what the heck happened.
Ew, shoot. I don't know if I can. Let's go. Let's talk about the client that I trusted. You get a client that comes in, and again, Captain Save-A-Ho. Want to help them. Great, we're doing it. We got the price, blah blah blah. And this is before I switched to fixed fee bill in advance. So we're doing all the work, and he's like, as soon as we get this, then I will pay you this. Okay, so we're busting our butt, and then we're coming across issues. We've got over a $22,000 tab racked up. Finally, we get to the end and we find more stuff, like 7 different QuickBook files that payroll's been run on, right? So basically they had a desktop and they've been processing payroll on desktop, but it wasn't connected to anything. So it prints out the pay stubs for the employees, but nothing's being reported. So taxes aren't being paid, nothing's being paid. And we say, hey, we need to know that you're going to pay this or something, or we're gonna have to report you. Oh man, we did that, cut us off, lost $20-some thousand. And I never, ever, ever once again trusted anybody to pay me after the fact. I always get it up front now before we do the work. Absolutely. If it's a huge thing, I'll do like a mid, I'll do like an upfront and then a mid and then small at the end, but I'm getting that money up front because we're doing that work and you don't get that back.
Yeah, you never want to be paranoid, but you have to be paranoid, right? I mean, it's not,
you have to.
Whether it's clients or employees or business partners or anything.
Well, and it's not about me taking home $20,000. It's about the fact that we staffed up. My team stopped and worked on this one client for a long time. Now other clients didn't get to take care of it. I still have to pay my team. Like, I'm counting on that. I'm budgeting.
Oh, wait, you pay your employees?
I know.
See, they trust me to do that. They shouldn't do that.
I got in trouble for not paying them, so I figured.
Dawn, do you have a horror story? Is it along the same lines or totally different?
Everything's been easy for me. This has been such an easy 23 years. Nothing's happened.
You're a big shot.
I wish I was Dawn.
It's so funny because I was at Happy Hour Camp and was walking with Ian, and I told him a handful of horror stories, and he's like, Brolin, I thought everything was rosy and happy in your world. And I'm like, I just don't let other people into my garbage. Typically, yeah. On this show, on this episode, I'm willing to share some things, but I think, so for me, I have a lot of big ones, which is the only way I think I've ever learned, to be honest. Nobody really learns from success. They learn from losing, really, in my opinion, but whatever. Falling on my face and deciding to move my practice into a partnership. And my big thing was, it was definitely a trust issue. I also think it was partially, naivety, being naive. Yeah. And thinking that I'm going to go into this partnership, I'm going to put my entire firm, which is a decent sized firm at the time, and I'm going to bring in these other two people who aren't really bringing a lot to the table initially, except for either their letters at the end of their name or whatever the case may be. And working 24/7, having young kids at home, just things that happen as I reflect back, should have left a long time before I did. And I think that, like, for me to reach people who are maybe listening, the key to me is that you have a value and don't ever let anyone undervalue that. And I, it's one of those things. One of the biggest things I learned was, even if I'm a CPA, I will never talk down to a person who's not. That's maybe my biggest lesson there. That's one of them. But
you do talk down to me, and I am a CPA. So that's the standard, right?
That's right. That's right.
I'm so scared.
I know you're you should be. And so,
you make it so easy to beat up on you. I don't know what it is.
He's easy.
You're like that.
I'm so trusting. That's the whole problem.
Back around.
But I think a lot of times people who are not and it's just my experience, right? This was one of my and I don't know if I call it a big disaster or a mess up, because I did learn a lot from it, but boy, it took me 6 years and 3 months to learn it. I think that's what I probably regret the most, that I put 6 years and 3 months, about a little bit over a third of my professional life, into something that turned out to be, I became irrelevant in whatever capacity that means. Despite the sacrifices of, I want to work from home a day a week or 2 days a week because I have young children. No, we don't do that. Okay, so now it just turned into, I had zero control.
So this is a business partner telling you how you had to live your life? Your
partners told you can't do that? Oh.
Yep. I was definitely a pawn. I was a pawn. And so I guess I want to reach the bookkeepers, I guess, in my message is that, listen, you are no lesser than any other person if they've been in business for 50 years, 5 minutes, they have 70 letters after their name, or 0. Do not ever underestimate your education, your experience, the things that you bring to the table, which may be different than another person, your value. And I'm just going to say, make sure you do the little sound. It's, you don't treat people like that.
Oh my God.
I agree.
I agree.
You don't
agree.
treat people like that.
I am a CPA, I'm securities licensed, and I'm insurance licensed. I'm gonna tell you what, each time I passed a certification, I didn't get smarter. It's really funny how I didn't get any better or smarter. I just passed a test and I try to hire the same way. That's a really, really good point. Too many people forget and devalue themselves because of that stuff.
I always say the same thing. I don't care if you're the president of the United States. Don't talk to me like that. You just, everybody needs to have a level of respect for everybody, because everybody's job's important. And if you think it's not important, ask yourself, if I didn't show up to work tomorrow, what won't get done? And you're going to realize how important you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, so go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just look at it that now for me, it took me a while to, I'll say, forgive, for lack of a better description. I don't wish any badness on either of my partners, my former partners. I don't. I wish nothing but best in the success for them. I just didn't want to do it that way. I don't.
What's their addresses?
I just didn't want, like, it took me, like, first of all, it took me 2 months to be able to breathe again. Yeah. Literally 2 months to detox from that environment. And whether they, you know, it was intentional, non-intentional, or I'm overreacting or whatever it may be, I don't care. It's how I felt. And it's what I went through and what I sacrificed. And that was a big mistake, because I was not, I mean, I would have been a bookkeeper forever. Maybe I would never have passed the CPA exam. Maybe I wouldn't have learned enough. I don't know. The experiences definitely got me where I am today. And I messed up about 7.9 million times in between all of that. And I'm not saying I was a perfect partner either, right? But anyway, that's I
think it's fascinating about that is, for everybody that already knows Dawn and knows how much of a badass she is. I mean, think about that. Her background in there is that moment where there was doubt. And we have all had that doubt. We've all had those moments. And so it's where she is today, and what you guys know, that, you know, the pinnacle that is Dawn. And we all have to get through that crucible moment to get to that thing. And don't worry, we're not going to be all like downer on this podcast, but it's fascinating how much it can impact us. And it's funny.
I have something I'm dying to say right now. So when we started to do this actually ties into this. So when we decided we were going to do this podcast together, I actually thought to myself, no way, people are going to watch this that I you know, worked with 18 years ago and be like, advisor, that screwed up everything. I know somebody's gonna, because when we first started out, like in 2006, when I started my company, I was doing bookkeeping and office management. And I think back now on certain things I did, I'm like, oh my God, I wonder if they got audited. Are they okay? You know, because I didn't know what I know now. And I'm thinking to myself, how many people are going to watch this and we're going to get like write-ins? Hey, Sharrin, remember when you did this? Yeah. You're some at BFD, you are. Yeah. So I always worry about that. But I think the fact that I worry about it and I identify it now, like sometimes I want to look up, I'm like, what was that company's name? I think I'm going to look it up and apologize. But I mean, it wasn't intentional.
Did I put them out of business?
Maybe. Which is why you don't pay $20 an hour for a professional, kids. When you try to hire in somebody at a low price, you get someone unexperienced. So if you got me in 2006 to 2008, I apologize.
You got what you paid for. Well, you know, actually, I tell my employees all the time, 5 years from now, you're going to look back at yourself and go, oh my gosh, I was stupid, because the volume of what you can learn in 5 years is absurd, particularly in our industry. But the problem is, 5 years later, you're going to look back on that arrogant fool and go, oh my gosh, they were stupid. There's never a moment you were stupid. You just didn't learn things. And without these screw ups, you just don't get better at it. Yeah. And I think what's funny is, and for all of you guys paying attention, we did not plan this flow, but the funny is, you started with trust. You went to and then Dawn went to trust, and you don't value yourself. My big screw up was pricing, which is tied to value. So it's almost like this circle that we worked in. Now, trust, oh my gosh, I have trusted some of the worst employees. I have trusted some of the worst business associates and joint. I mean, like we've got stories over so much Jameson, like we'll empty a bar out. I'm sure that we can all sit and have a good time. Mine is
I have so
back
many
to the
stories.
value.
I'm just not legally allowed to speak about them.
That's okay. We'll mention their name in the
Say that.
comments
I
or
need
something.
to.
No, we won't.
I need to put in a text real quick.
Yeah. What's the disclaimer we have to have? No, I kept screwing up pricing. I kept undervaluing. And again, I ain't cheap. And every time I turned around, I realized we were still underpricing, because what was easy for me was like, it was easy. I'll just knock that thing out. It takes me 30 minutes. So I'm going to charge you 50 bucks, 100 bucks, 200 bucks. But then it would have taken the client 4, 5, 6 hours to do. And I keep forgetting the value pricing methodology. And of course,
Also, John, what about your team? So I was pricing things to where when it was just solely me and I was doing it, and I was like, this takes me an hour and no big deal. I got it done. It's so easy for me. But then when I switched things to my team as I was scaling, it took someone else 3 hours, and I'm still charging them for my pricing. And like, you really have to think about that in your worth as well as you hand things off, that no one is going to do it as fast or as thorough or as good as you, or maybe they are.
And it's never just what your time is worth or what your speed is. And this is why nobody learned really about value pricing 10, 15, 20 years ago, right? We charged by the hour and it went up some increment based on your rate, blah, 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 blah. But if I save somebody $100,000, why in the world do I charge them 200 bucks for that thing?
Yeah.
You can get into what is it worth to that individual. And the more I move to that, I need fewer clients and I make more money. And so I keep doing it. And it's funny, I've had my firm since 2006 and worked a decade before that. And I keep coming in and going, yeah, this should be about 1,500 bucks. And you get done and go, shoot, I just saved them 95,000. What would 2,500 bucks have made a difference, or 3,500? There's so many moments that we just pause. I think if we all just pause and said, what is this worth to that person? So pricing continues to be the albatross that I have, is I keep looking around and going, oh, I'm stuck to this agreement and I'm now wasting my time. I could charge triple to this person over here, but I'm bound by it. And it's continuing to upshift to value for me.
And we did fixed pricing. That is a big mistake, right? Is when you realize, and you don't know how bad your pricing is off if you're not tracking it somehow, right? If everybody's just free willy-nilly, I just wanted to say willy-nilly, working on clients and no one's logging anything, and all you know is it's a mess. So when we started tracking time and looking at what we were doing and comparing, I'm like, oh my God, it's terrible. So we went to fixed fee, set SOWs. Here's what it is. And I'm pretty set on that. Even if I don't care how efficient we make it, I'm set on that. And so when my partners or someone comes in and says, you think we're charging too much? Should we give a discount? I'm like, get off of my Zoom. No, we're not giving a discount because we're amazing at what we do. If they go to somewhere like Bench, they're going to pay $200 a month more, and they're not getting the level of service. So no. And I feel like I'm the jerk now, and I used to be the nice one, but you know what? I kind of like being bad cop. It's kind of being that's the first time I swore ever on this thing. Now I'm excited to hear my sound. I love it. At the end of the day, I'm like, no, honey, I go with my husband. I'm so happy because I got to be mean to everybody all day. So.
Obviously the listeners, we talk to business owners of all types, accountants, people that are employees that are not business owners. If you're in the middle of a mistake, it's like that, oh my gosh, the world is crashing down, and whatever that mistake is, I've trusted the wrong employee or client, I've had the wrong business partner, or I just priced wrong. What's the advice that you would give to that person in that moment? Dawn, do you have any thoughts on that? Like, what's the thing that you would give them as advice on that?
I would probably, at least for me, on the partnership piece of it, is to have a voice, insist on having a voice in the relationship. Mm-hmm. And if you're not somebody who, and I wasn't at the time, I wasn't somebody who today I'll walk in a room and I will just beat the crap out of people, right? Because I've gone through all of these, and there's so many more, right? So it's like, it's almost like stand up for yourself. If you know you're right, or you believe in what you're doing, have a voice and don't let people walk on you. And if you realize you've gotten into a relationship that it's just not going to work, it's almost like when you get that gut feeling, man, it's always trust your gut. I definitely believe in that. And shift, like stop, like Sean said before, pause. Whoa. is this the right thing for me? And so, I let it go on too long. I let myself get beat up too much. And I think that's why it took me a little bit to recover from that. And so that would be for me is trust your gut, have a voice. If you don't have a voice, you are in the wrong place. Because if other people are going to beat you down to pick themselves up, or they're in charge because they have letters behind the name, and if that's the case, you are in the wrong place with the wrong people. And, for me, it's like, watch them, how they treat other people. So it's just, everybody's night, always the beginning, the wedding is beautiful, the formation of a new business and the excitement of others helping. And it's not just you anymore. And this is beautiful. This is perfect. We're going to be gazillionaires. And then all of a sudden, it all starts and the walls start.
Would you go into a partnership again? Would you ever go into a partnership again, Dawn?
Only with you and Sharrin. But from a firm perspective, I would rather partner, meaning I'll work with you, Sean, on different clients and different cases. Same with Sharrin. Like, I'll do that, but it's not going to be, I'm not ever giving up what I have spent 23 years working for to someone else who just might try to boss me around. And I think that, like, in closing of that, it's like, I've worked too hard. I want other people to make money. We won't even get into the employee thing for me. I've invested in more freaking people and taught them more shit, and had them go on their own and do their own thing and leave for whatever. It doesn't matter what the freaking reason is, whatever the big BFD was that they had to leave. And I've had many come through this office, and I will take responsibility when it was my fault. 100%. And there were times it was my fault, and those people will never know which ones they are. But it's like, just saying it out there. And I know I've grown a lot as a person, as a leader. I've not always been the best leader, but I can tell you what, at the end of the day, I have never, and I mean never, I've never intentionally done anything to an employee, a client, a partner, anyone, to put them in a bad space. And I can look in the mirror every single day and know I've never done that to anyone my entire life. And I know to my grave, I will never do it. And I'm saying on purpose. I'm not saying I haven't done it unintentionally or without knowledge that I was doing it. But I have never done it intentionally, because that's not my spirit. But there are plenty of people out there that's their spirit.
Oh yeah, if you've been a business owner and had a single employee, you have been screwed over by that employee. And yeah, there's so many people that I've taught. Like, the reason they have businesses, when they came in knowing nothing, now they have their business, which is great. I'm glad they're fulfilled and doing their thing. But yeah,
But you can do it that nobody would fighting the hand that fed you. I mean, I tell everybody on my team, if your goal is to learn as much from me as possible and start your own company, I don't care. Let me know. I will uplift and support you. And when you go to leave, if there's a client that absolutely loves you that has to go with you, let's figure it out. Let's not fight and we're going to be in the same industry. Let's not fight. Let's just figure it out.
100%.
I love that, Sharrin, because honestly, I've had. It
doesn't in that way, but that's what I've always said.
And here's the thing that for me, just, okay, wow, we can rabbit hole this, but when an employee leaves and they don't tell you why, that's where it's like, what we just had for this relationship was great. We went on vacation together. We did this, we did that. Christmas at your house, Christmas at my house, and we're all like buddies. And then all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to leave. And then they don't tell us why they're leaving, and you still don't know why. To me, it is the most disrespectful thing you can do.
It's hurtful.
As an employee.
I don't even care if they started their own company. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't. That's fine. I want to refer people to them if they were good. I refer people to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's done right and you work as a team. The reason I asked about the partner thing is because a lot of people get really gun shy, but at the same time, I also know nobody will put up with my crap. I've got so many crazy quirks and the way I do things. I mean, come on, y'all. I fired all the tax returns. What CPA firm does that? And if I had a partner, can you imagine that firestorm? So Sharrin,
you guys, I have two partners right now. I have a partner on each side, and I feel like I'm that bulldozing because I'm the one that's had the accounting firm before and they haven't. And I'm like, nope, not doing that. Just went through that. Sorry. But I listen to them and I respect it. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, from my experience, anyhow.
So what would you tell somebody So given that you're the bulldozing, you've gotten,
I am.
and somebody's in the middle of their mistake, whatever the mistake is, maybe not our same mistakes. Somebody's in the middle of a mistake and it's killing them. What would you tell them?
God, first of all, just like Don said, if something isn't working, stop. Just stop what you're doing, but realize what needs to change, then start changing, moving that step forward. Once you've got your change and the situation changed, that moment forward, then you can go back in time and see what can be fixed. But if you don't stop, collaborate, and listen, and recognize that was some vanilla ice for you, and recognize and change it.
It's a MC Hammer. We don't get that wrong.
And that's in everything, right? Relationships, business, pricing, employment. Just stop, fix it, figure it out, and then start moving forward, and then go back and fix it. And that's honestly what we do, because pricing, everything, we're going to find that going forward, and then you just fix from there forward. But yeah, just stop.
And the reason I asked the question, one, it's just good to know, because obviously people are listening and they're in the middle of that mistake. We want to help them. I was just working with a client last week that was just drowning and dying, and they've screwed something up and they're worried about losing all their clients. And they were so emotional about it, which, y'all, these are our babies. This is your career. This is your business. It is okay to be emotional about it. But when you're in that wrapped up emotion, you have to pause. And I love your stop, because it's not just stop doing the thing, stop and say, okay, what's the desired outcome? Like, what do I want to have happen? Because you can't even lay a plan out if you don't even know where
you're making reactive emotional decisions. And if you make
that,
I had an old coach that told me, I'm sorry, Paula. I had an old coach that told me that when you're in the trenches and you're getting shot at and you keep ducking down, it's normal to be emotional reactionary about it. But again, eventually there's a pause in the fire and you can look up and decide the plan, right? It's never as bad as you think it is, which conversely, by the way, when life is good, it's never quite as good as you think it is. So pump the brakes. You're not that good. But there's this median part on where you want to be. So kind of to bring things home, guys, we all have been through some serious crazy crud. And when we're not on a podcast, you're welcome to stop us at events and say, okay, let's have a drink. Tell me one of those crazy stories. Because we have got our fill of them. I mean, we're talking decades and decades of experience here that we have screwed up. But screwing up is not the problem. It's not reacting to that and creating a solution. And we're not going to be total downers, because there's a sister podcast that we have that's going to be talking about our greatest successes. So we need you to go find that podcast so you can hear that one. But thank you guys for coming. Yeah, this is the downer one. No, there's a bunch of goofy stuff, but we want you to understand mistakes happen. But thank you for coming to listen to us on BFD Advisors, and we will absolutely have some fun stories in our next one.